LeetCode 78, the subsets. Given integer array nums of unique elements, return all possible subsets, the power sets. So we see we have here an input of 1, 2, 3. What are all the subsets? The empty set. This is getting a little bit mathematical. The empty set is one of the subsets. Then each of 1, 2, and 3 is also a subset. Then 1 and 2 is also a subset. 1 and 3, right, is also a subset. 2 and 3 is also a subset. All the subsets. And 1, 2, and 3 is also a subset. So I will focus here on the brute force solution. I will show the answer. I will not type it in order not to interfere with the flow. This is the brute force solution. Obviously, there are more optimal solutions, but it's very important to get this brute force solution because it kind of explains the problem better and the solution and how to think about it. Okay, so as we see, we have here the answer that we initialize with an array, right? We need to return and output a list of lists. So we already initialize it with empty sets. Okay, so great. We already have one of them. But why do we do this? Why do we even bother initialize? Why not build the empty set as part of the loop? Because we use this. You see, we loop the nums. We have a nested loop. And inside the nested loop, we already treat the answer and append to it. And we trust that we already have the empty set. Otherwise, we would need to insert it, and we don't have here explicitly the empty set. So we have to kind of add it by ourselves. Okay? So we added the empty set. We don't want to say cheated, but we pre-initialized the answer array with an empty set, and then we just scan the answer itself. Okay, so it looks it's bending the mind. I mean, we are going over the answer. We are looping the answer. We are looping the answer and then taking each of the answers that we have and add to it numbers. Now you might ask, but wait a minute. If you loop the answer and add to it the numbers, won't you add duplicates? So no, because the loop over the number is the external one. So we won't iterate the same number for the same answer twice, right? Because we would iterate each number once. And while it's true that we would iterate the same answer multiple times because we have nested loop, we would still only append to each answer one number only once. Okay? Okay, so I think it's best to kind of look at an example. So let's take the beginning. Now we have in the answer the empty set. Okay. Now we say go over all the numbers. Okay, so we are going to go over 1, 2, and 3. We freeze, this is important, we freeze the length of the number because if we are going to append to answers and we are going to use the range function, it would the loop would continue, and we want to freeze that. The range will be dynamic. J would continue if the range of the answers, if the range if the length of the answer will change during the for loop, the result of range would be different because the length changed. So we want to freeze it. So now we froze it only to a single item because this is the length of the answers. Okay, so great. So outer loop, iterate each of the numbers. Internal loop, freeze the length of the answer. We have only one item. Now take the answer that you have. We have only one item. And append to it as an array the number, the current number. So the current number would be 1. So 1 plus an empty array, and it's like this. Empty array plus 1. If you do this in Python, you will get a nice one. Okay, we finished with this internal loop. We are now going to item number 2. Okay, we finished with item number 1 for num in nums. Item number 1 finished. We had only one answer. We froze it, so we had only this. We had to eat the current number, which is number 1. Right? We went over number 1. We finished with it. Now we are at item number 2. Num number 2. Num number 2 is 2. For j in, we freeze the number of answers. We have 2 answers. So we freeze the number 2. Now, you go over each of the answers, the empty set, and we append to it the current number. Current number is 2. So we get 2. But remember that we froze the number of items now. We had 2 items. So we add also to 1. 2. So we get 1 and 2. We finished the internal loop because in this internal loop we had only 2 numbers. So we finished this. And now we go to external loop to item number 3. Item number 3. How many items do we have externally? Externally, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4. So here this loop would freeze to loop freeze to 4. Right? Basically, the concept is go over all the previous items and add the next number. Add the next number. Do not add all the numbers. And because we look only ahead, we are sure that we will only add like unique numbers to the set. So now we have a freeze of 4, so we need to add the current number, which is 3, and the external loop to each of these items. Okay, so we add empty set plus 3, which is just 3. Okay, we should stop here, right? This is where we now stop. We add now 1 plus 3, which is 1 plus 3. We add now 2 plus 3, which is 2 plus 3. And the last item is 1 and 2. So we add 1, 2 plus 3, which is just 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we finished with the loop. We finished with all the numbers because we got to number 3 and return the answer. So what did we learn from this? We learned that we initialize the answer with the empty set because we don't really see here an empty set, so let's initialize it. And this is super useful because later on we only append to the answer. We only append to the items of the answer. So you see, we append and we base this appending on the already existing answer. So if the already existing answer is the empty set, then we add the numbers 1 and 2 to the empty set. And then we continue to the next number and add it. Okay, so this was the brute force way. When you see the Python solution, they also do here another trick. If you're familiar with Python, you can do this, but I think that this is clearer. And this is the solution, the brute force solution, which I think is important of its own for the understanding of this problem of the subsets.